Hey everyone, Catch 'em All Collectibles here. In today's video, I'm going to talk about obvious plays, no-brainers, some might say. I think there's a lot of interesting conversation that could be had around no-brainers, and there's also a lot of interesting case studies. There's a lot of interesting examples from our long history, some in very recent time. But yeah, I have a lot of tabs open. I have a couple bullet points I want to hit, and we'll just start going through. I've heard the term no brainer applied to so many plays in Pokemon more frequently lately. It back in 2014, 15, 16, it wasn't quite as prevalent. I guess not as much money was around. There might have been a more pure focus. That was back when I was collector boy Dan, so maybe it was just me being in that side of the sphere of it that I wasn't as tainted. But anyways, let's get right into it. Let's start showing off some tabs. Ultra Premium Collection Charizard definitely was talked about as a no-brainer, as was, I just cropped it out, but the Generations Ultra Premium Collection, that was a no-brainer that went the right way. It was printed well under demand. Supply was well under demand. Price went up. And I think a lot of people anticipated clearly Ultra Premium Collection Charizard. Hey, it says Ultra Premium in the name. It has Charizard on it. And you can make the arguments, break it down. I mean, I made a video in the past. I'll link it up with a tag there in the corner. I made a video talking about the Ultra Premium Collection and how you could have broken it down and you could have still made money. Grading some of the promos and things may not have panned out unless you were the first to market that race to the bottom. One thing that's going to be really common in this video is that race to the bottom that PK always loves talking about, always loves partaking in. But yeah, this was definitely described as a no-brainer. Maybe it still will pan out. I actually have a couple hundred of them sealed that I'm just sitting on for now. At some point, I'll probably break some amount down. The promos are still, I mean, the Evolving Skies packs inside. There are contents worth more than just selling it sealed, especially factoring in shipping. Anyways, that is one of them, just showing you like pre-sales of 240, pre-sales of 200, pre-sales well above retail, and now it's been on sale from time to time, sub wholesale, let alone being significantly below retail still as I speak. So Illustration Grand Prix Charizard, probably a fairly familiar one for a lot of people. Shout out to Pokedata, shout out to TCG Fish. They're the two sources that I always find myself coming back to. This doesn't seem to go quite back to when this was created, unfortunately, but a lot of these no-brainer plays, again, they can go one of three directions. They can go up, they can go down, or they can stay relatively flat. This isn't the best representation of it, but this is one of those ones, pop 20,000 in PSA 10, $30. A lot of people were paying. I don't remember out of the gate exactly what people were paying. This doesn't go back far enough, but $31.52. Certainly after paying $4 to ship it, after paying your 12% eBay fees, after paying the $15 grading fee, and however much you paid for the card, not too great of a play. Yes, you can promote items, you can sell them for. There are some amount of people that have a lot of these graded that are still getting out of them at a slight profit, but nowhere near to the extent that the first in the race to the bottom, the winners of the race to the bottom, the ones selling at closer to the top, panned out. Here's one where it actually demonstrates better. So I don't know how many sales happened exactly, but $51 raw. There are many instances. One common theme that you'll find, if you are the first person to bring one of these cards in PSA 10, generally speaking, you do extremely well. There's some amount of risk. Usually the $15 tier isn't going to get you first to market. People are usually gambling at the $40, $75, $150, even $300 tier on some of these cards. So it's a little bit about what's your risk tolerance, what is your capacity and ability to pre-grade. I'm not recommending anyone make these plays. One thing I'll get to later, I'll touch on uh, teaching someone to fish, showing them the history of what's out there, showing the upside, showing the downside, showing the potential risks. And then just, I think the most informative thing, and I by no means am going to get everything right. I'll tell you what I'm doing with respect to some of these no-brainers in current day. And yeah, what I had done on the past. So far, Illustration Grand Prix, I did send some amount of those out. That was kind of like one of those pandemic during the craze of Pokemon going nuts, grading companies being shut down. Charizard V I didn't go into extensively. I actually intended to. Quality was fairly low, so I just didn't have many that were gradable condition. Charizard V, this one, again, this one doesn't go quite far enough back to show everything because I know PSA 10s were going for hundreds of dollars. I think Rusty, TCA Gaming, mentioned that his initial batch of ETBs from Champions Path had very, very low print quality. So he just like bought one. I think he scooped one at like $300 if I remember correctly. Sorry, Rusty, to mention that. But I know you've mentioned it publicly, so I'll bring it up. And yeah, that one, in hindsight, for a lot of people, what I was trying to get to here before I lost where I was going, a lot of people, especially if you're not going to pre-grade it well, if you're going to end up paying $40, $75 to grade an 8, obvious, you're better off selling it raw, sealed, especially if it's not gradable. If you end up hitting those 10s, though, it can really pay off. And very, very common theme. Unfortunately, we didn't get back to release all the way on this one. Nagaba EVs, very, 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 very good example here. Currently, PSA 10s are going for about $45, average of last 3 sold. Shipping, grading fees, the packs are going for anywhere between 10 and 20, depending on when you bought them. Not much there. But those people who sold 100 plus did really, really well. This is the one. So this is the one that I was kind of alluding to. I know PK's made several videos at this point. I have not yet shipped them, but shipping tomorrow, I have 3 grading misses. And me personally, I don't play the game. I don't have a secondary eBay where I let people think that they might be getting a gradable copy. I put rate in my description. This is not going to grade a PSA 10. All 3 of these sold for $100 a piece. I was able to get 10 of them. So the no-brainer portion was buying from the Pokemon Center a $7 pack of sleeves, a $20 tote bag, and getting these promos for free. Thankfully, I was able to get 10 for free, along with my purchases. I think I spent maybe a couple $100. If you can interact in that way, if you can beat the bots, that is one of the ones that I will support more, being a no-brainer. Sometimes no-brainer plays can border on, it's almost a prerequisite that you don't have a brain to attempt to do it. It's like it's a no-brainer that everyone, even people without a brain, will do. So it just ends up panning out very, very poorly. But anyways, yeah, some of these have already sold over $1,000. Auctions are ending in the high several hundreds. I'm just like slow, late to the game. By the time that you see this video on Monday, these will have been out to PSA, but not for very long. I'm recording this late the week prior. So I do have some out with PSA, yet I'm not going to be getting those very, very first out of the gate. I did send some with CGC at bulk that in hindsight I will probably regret sending so slowly. I probably should have paid more even through CGC. But yeah, out of my 10, I was only fairly confident that 2 would get PSA 10s. Unfortunately, 1 was completely damaged, just bent in the way that it was packaged. That one I'm going to sell maybe raw at a convention. I mean, I will disclaim that it is damaged, but it is very, very evident that it's damaged. And yeah, again, and I'll get into the future of the Van Gogh, the future of the Pikachu with gray felt hat promo, where I think it might go given historical precedents. But yeah, this was one of those releases that, and it's a very interesting thing, because if you got $1,000, if you graded the PSA 10 and you got $1,000, obvious, you're confirmed, you made the right play. Some people paid $300, $250, $200 plus raw. As of today, they're selling for about $100 raw sealed, maybe a little over, maybe a little under. But if you paid $300 and you paid $75 to grade it, and you got an 8 or a 9, didn't pan out so well, right? I don't know exactly what 8s and 9s are going for, but clearly some amount of these 10s even. I mean, I guess we can look at sold. Let's look at recently sold. You always run the risk of getting people that shill it, that don't end up paying. Here's one that ended internationally for about $400. They paid $300 and $75 to grade it. They didn't get their money back. Definitely some risk in these plays. Definitely some excitement though. There's a lot of money flowing out there, a lot of hype out there, a lot of FOMO out there, and it definitely is interesting to watch it from the sidelines, and more interesting to just participate as well. But yeah, this Pikachu with gray felt hat, where will it go in the future? Is it too late? Should you be buying them for 100 sealed? Is it going to be a good play? I think one common theme in these two, it's always so obvious. It's always obvious. It's like, Obviously, Charizard V was going to be printed too heavily. Obviously, so like, once you know what happened, it's easy to say how obvious it was. And I think a lot of confirmation bias happens, and I think a lot of overconfidence happens. If I had guessed, and I don't have them queued up, I don't have the clips queued up, I think I gave some pause. I think I pushed some caution on people just investing in the sealed and or cracking and grading the promos. I don't remember exactly what I said. I don't remember if I put exact time frames to it, but I'm quite certain that I gave some kind of a disclaimer that this could be sub MSRP for a long time if they print enough. Any product, I mean, it could. There is an alternate reality where they printed 5% or 10% of what they had printed, and this could be $500. It all comes down to supply and demand at the end of the day, and supply is unknown unless you have insider information that I don't, which unfortunately I'm not tapped into any of that, and some people might be. So you got to be a little bit careful there because there might be an imbalance of information. And if you're competing with less information, I mean, there's definitely times in the history of this hobby where people had insider information that they acted on first, and then the public found out weeks later when it was too late, when all the best deals were done. So, yeah, unfortunately, I'm not in the position where I'm acting on that. I don't think I've ever had any opportunity to act on anything like that. But yeah, it is a Pokemon Center free with purchase release. Let's look at some other Pokemon Center free with purchase releases and see if we can get an idea of where they might go. Special delivery Pikachu. I want to say this might go all the way back to when it was released. No, it must not though. It must have been a Christmas 2020 thing. I want to say that these went even higher for a while, but again, first out of the gate. I mean these have been trickling down since the data that I have shown here. June of 2021, they've trickled down to about 550 for a PSA 10 from around 900, and the raw has trickled down from 140 down to about 115. So it's been fairly dead money. Afterwards, special delivery Bidoof. Very, very funny one here. Pokemon Center memeing on us with this one. This one, interestingly, it's not, I mean, it does have a Charizard in it. It does have a Bidoof in it. But this one has slowly been trickling up. Supply, presumably, a fair bit lower than the other ones, especially special delivery Charizard. You see the classic the classic dive out of the gate. This is one that I did have fairly early on. This is one that I did pay an increased rate to get it graded. I sold mine for $675. I know there were several other people playing that race to the bottom. But again, it all becomes a game of how well can you pre-grade, how quick can you get that card back. And then right now, PSA 10s still fairly high for how many there are out there. For raw being in the $40 vicinity and PSA 10s being $220. I mean, that's pretty decent. If this card were to settle there, which again, I'll say it again, I think it should be known if you know who I am, what I'm going to say here. This could go up, it could go down. Graded prices in the short to medium term, I can almost guarantee will go down significantly. First couple sales over 1,000, we're already into the high several hundreds. I think that will continue to go down significantly. We're in a state where Pokemon has said they are going to do more to get more promos in people's hands. Minimum purchase $30. Will there be another 10,000, another 100,000, another 5 million? We have no idea. This card in 5 years could be a $20 raw card and on a $50, $100 PSA 10, or it could be a $500 PSA 10 and a $200 raw card. $200 raw card, $800 PSA 10. You just never know. With hindsight, it's so easy. With hindsight, oh yeah, obviously Mario Pikachu, obviously Scream Pikachu, $3,000 card. Very obvious that is what it is today. Back when I was buying them for 40, back when I was buying them for 30, 40, 50, and selling the 10s for 80, 100, I knew they were good. I knew I liked them, but I didn't know what was going to happen. Nobody knew what was going to happen. People made guesses. People placed their bets. They put their chips on the table. Some of them pushed them all in. Some of them didn't put any chips in the middle. And but in hindsight, you need to be careful of taking a gamble without knowing which way it's going to head, and then it goes the right way. So you get overconfidence from it. You walk into a casino, you place all your chips on green 0. Bad bet, objectively. Negative EV. But it hits, and you make a ton of money. Were you actually right to do that? In that instance, we know you're not right. in the instance of Pokemon, you're never going to have enough information. You're never going to have enough variables to know whether you were right or wrong. You're never going to know if it was actually inherently plus EV or minus EV. You actually can't ever know that. But yeah, you need to be careful of doing the right thing, of doing a thing, getting the right outcome, and just assuming, therefore, you were correct. The outcome doesn't necessarily mean, again, I mean, you could make a play for all intents and purposes, like, seems history's on your side. Again, I mean, if you take just from this perspective, Special Delivery Charizard, Special Delivery Bidoof, and Pikachu, similar promos that were released in the same fashion, they've done fairly well. Not buying the PSA 10 out of the gate, but buying and taking them for free. And then, I mean, Special Delivery Charizard is the one that bucks that trend, right? So 2 out of 3 times it's worked fairly well to get it, and then kind of even sitting on the sealed for a couple years, it's going down slowly, but you're still multiples of what you put into it. I think Special Delivery Pikachu, you only had to do a $20 purchase to get, whereas the Pikachu with gray felt hat, you're going to do $30 moving ahead. But yeah, anyways, what I wanted to get into is a lot of people will look in the past. They will long for, I wish I was there. I would have bought so many. It would have been so easy. Having the whole history of having the whole price chart, everything's easy, right? Having today's liquidity, having today's prices, it's easy to go back and say, I would have bought all of them at $40 for PSA 10s. A lot of people that were there, though, I mean, some amount of people did buy a lot of them, and some amount of people made a lot of money buying all of them, sitting on for 5 years, and then selling them. But it's not as easy as it looks with hindsight. And if you think it is, give me the price of this card in a year. October 15th, 2024. If I remember, maybe I'll make a short. I'm going to guess. I'm going to throw my numbers out there just to guess. This is not advice. Don't base this guess on what you should do today. Because honestly, I had 10 of them last week. All 10 are spoken for in one way or the other. Well, one is going to be sold damaged, raw, probably, at a convention. Maybe I'll list it on eBay as damaged for pretty cheap for a binder collector. 2 are going to PSA, 3 are already sold, and I think 4 musty went to CGC, if I'm mathing correctly. 4 went to CGC. Once my graded cards come back, immediately being sold. If and when, and I'll make a video updating this play. If it goes to the right price, and what the right price is, it's hard to put a number on it. The right price could be $50. The right price could be $100. If this card sits stable and it goes through multiple waves of releases, and then Pokemon says, hey, we're done, and it's still $100, I might feel comfortable enough to come in and buy 100 of them. My comfort level to buy them might not happen until $20 or $10 or $50. Like, I have no idea. And I can't give you a firm price. I can't tell you I'm going to buy 100 at $20. Because if it goes to $20 so quickly, and if Pokemon is still releasing them for 6 more months, and I think it might go to 10, I might get greedy, and I might wait on them. That Detective Pikachu promo that just came out in Japan, I had a chance to buy 100 of them at $20 a piece. I passed because I thought they were going to go to 10. Well, now they're 35. In hindsight, it's obvious they were going to do that, right? But I didn't have that hindsight when I was offered them $2,000 for 100 of them, and I passed. You're going to miss some. You're going to hit some out of the park. Overall, as long as you're going like plus EV generally, as long as it averages to where it's a win, a couple L's here and there, fine. Generally, this won't always be the case, but generally the punishments are a lot lighter. I mean, they used to be almost completely absent. ZNG Emporium used to say hashtag never punished. I don't know if he still says that anymore. A little bit risky to say that these days. But generally speaking, the punishments are a lot lighter than the rewards are like positive. So a lot of people have just kind of like benefited from overall EV being positive due to that. 10s are more rewarding than the 9s are punishing, generally speaking. How long will that last? Who knows? But yeah, one other thing I wanted to add on. This was available from a $40-ish retail box. These PSA 10s were $40 or $50 for a long time. The 10s, when they came out, I mean, I think they did the same thing promos do today. They came out at a couple $100 and then they went down to like 40 or 50. But a lot of optimism and a lot of positivity and a lot of hype and FOMO and stonking is priced in out of the gate. One issue that obvious plays have today is that when an obvious play comes along, it's priced like an obvious play. And there can be a long way to fall from a lot of over exuberance, a lot of over optimism. And if and when that supply dumps, if and when, I mean, demand can be fickle. If people have easy access to get something, often they want it less. So if and when that supply can hang around, you can have a long dead period. And that's not to say, I mean, honestly, I have 200 of these that I'm not selling. I have 200 of these, some amount I'm going to break down. Most of them I'm going to sit on though. And I think I'll sell them for a decent price in the future. I think this is the kind of product that, like, once the price starts going up, the price will start going up more, because price goes up because price goes up, price goes down because price goes down. Fickle consumers, all that stuff, yada yada. But yeah, that's my general thoughts. I hope this was an interesting video. Shout out to Retrospecs. Shout out to Ernie for making the thumbnail. Retrospecs had the saying, brain off, printer on. I think you need to be a little bit careful with the no-brainers. Sometimes they can be more along the lines of, like, people falling into that trap almost as if they have no brains. Put a little bit of thought into things. Use a little bit of your brain, but don't fall into analysis paralysis either. I will link that video above. Having your brain on and thinking too hard, which was with respect to why Retrospecs made that saying, brain off, printer on, is because sometimes people can get wrapped up in way too much. And yeah, check out my analysis paralysis video. A lot of times people can just put too much time into things where it would be better to just go in, dip your toe in, do something, and experience is a good teacher. And for anyone who wasn't around for these plays, I think history isn't guaranteed to, you're not going to take any guarantee out of it or anything. But it's interesting. It's interesting to look at history and see how some of these promos performed, and then use that to project where we think they might go in the future. So yeah, for me, I told you what I did with my 10 of them. If the price goes down, I don't see myself building a substantial stockpile at above $100. If the price stays firm for a year, if they go through the release, I'll buy more at 100 probably. I think the price will go down though, hence why I'm selling mine sealed, the non-gradable ones, hence why I'm selling my graded ones as soon as they come back. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where that goes. I think I hit all of my, yeah, I hit all of my bullet points, it looks like. So that's going to be it for today. Again, a 10-minute video going 20 minutes long. That's just the way, that's how I do it. If you stuck around till the end, feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I appreciate everyone watching. I will catch you all later.